Hello, my name is Steele Davis, and this is my 2004 BMW 325 Ci. This thing is a dedicated drift car, and I'm going to share with you its extreme acquisition story, how I've had it for the last year and a half, but only actually been able to drive it for about 6 months because it was down for an entire year. Then we're going to walk around and give you a detailed breakdown video of all the little details of how it was put together and then what modifications are done. And then we're going to drive it because we are somewhere super special today. We are actually at the Drift Mansion, as you can see behind me. And all around me, there's curbing and a bunch of concrete and a bunch of tire, rubber just attached to this asphalt. Well, this place is an Airbnb in Missouri, so central United States. It's owned by a guy named John David. And I am here with friends of mine, Taxi Garage, a friend Nick Ward of mine. We went to middle school together. We used to skate and skateboard, and now we've been doing car stuff for the last 20 years of our friendship. And he's huge into drifting, and I honestly was not huge into drifting. I was more into like kind of track day stuff. And in the last year or so, after coming here for a friend of mine's bachelor party, I realized that I kind of needed just a cheap drift car, and that's ultimately how I came upon owning this thing. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into how I acquired this thing. So about 2 years ago now, I came here for a friend of mine's bachelor party, JJ. And if you've seen any videos from this place, the Drift Mansion, there are a bunch of 370Zs on white Concis. They're usually black, and they're just sending it around here. So a guy named Mike Jackson that actually lives around here and comes and slides here quite often, he was gracious enough to hand me the keys to his 370Z, and this is the first time I've ever actually driven a dedicated drift car. And it was like wise fab, welded diff, full cage, basically factory style engine, 370Z, maybe some intakes, so not a crazy amount of power, but it was just like a turnkey, low budget, tire friendly car that was very easy to drive. And he gave me the keys to that, and I gave him my drone controller, and we made a video kind of trading drone, trading car, and I got to slide this cool car around this amazingly awesome place with its private, it's basically the coolest place ever. We're going to drive it later, and I'll show you how cool it is. But yeah, I got to drive it. I got to have a lot of fun, and it got me thinking, maybe I should buy like a cheaper drift car that I can have fun with and I don't have to worry so much about, because I am kind of a stickler for buying like really nice things, and then I end up not sending them as hard as I completely would if I just didn't care. And I do not care, but I also care a little bit when you have a lot of money invested in something. So I found this car on Facebook Marketplace for I think it was like listed for $22,000 or $23,000. It was in Rhode Island. A guy named Brian owned it, and ultimately I ended up working out a deal with him. I think I paid $18,000 for it. I had it shipped down to my house, and I got it off the trailer and immediately took it to the drift track and realized that there were a lot of things that were pretty reliable and sorted on it, but there were also a couple of things that were not. Like the angle kit needed to be tightened up every single drift event, and there were just like a couple little things, like the seats were kind of weird, and I ended up changing a bunch of stuff, but we'll go over that here in a minute when we go through the detailed breakdown. But that is how I acquired this car, and yeah, basically right after that I was able to do a bunch of modifications to it. I took it to 4th of July Drift in 2024 and basically had it for 3 months after I had spent a bunch of money sorting it out and getting it completely dialed. And then I was in an accident with this car. Basically, long story short, coming down a very committing hill, someone had gone off the track in front of me, and I thought they were staying off the track, but then they came back on the track and spun and stopped right at the apex of the next corner, which was like a 60-mile-an-hour kind of, you got to huck the car down the hill to get to it without having to mangy too much. Anyways, I came in, couldn't really do much. I'm sure in hindsight I could have done something, maybe added like full power, but in my head I was like, well, I should probably slow down. So I touched the brakes, car spun backwards. I backed into him with the rear right side of the car, and then the guy behind me that was in a tandem train slid into me, hit me right here in this front fender area. It didn't damage the wheel or the door too much, but it did mess up this fender, which is a wide body kit from Big Duck Club. Again, we're going to go over some of those details when we go through the build. But yeah, it took about a year for whatever reason to get the car back in like working condition. It was kind of a mixture of sorts of like the shops not having certain things, and then maybe the Big Duck Club stuff was like out of stock and we were just waiting on shipment, and then like the body shop was a little slow. There was just like a bunch of weird collaborating things that ultimately led to the car being down for an entire year. So I got it back on July like 15th this year. An entire year later, I dropped it off on July 4th, the day that it happened, and then a whole year later, I got it back. And I shook it down one time and then came here to the Drift Mansion. So we are here with this car, and it has been flawless this entire couple of days that I've been driving here. I've probably I don't know, done 70 to 100 laps around this place doing just nonsense, and the car is very dialed now. So without further ado, that was the acquisition story and kind of a basic background of the car. We're going to go over a detailed explanation of all the mods now, and then we're going to go and have some fun driving this thing around the Drift Mansion. Again, thank you John David and Nick Ward and all the people that are here, because we are here for the entire week just having a blast doing the most absurd things, and everyone right now is asleep because they were up until about 4 a.m. last night doing shenanigans in the woods, armadillo hunting with gel blasters, and just doing dumb stuff. So thank you for experiencing the acquisition. Now let's go into the build video and then the driving. All right, so here is that 2004 BMW 325 Ci. We're gonna do a walk around, kind of give you guys a brief overview of what this car is all about externally and visually. So as you can see, it's wide body. That is Big Duck Club wide body. We've got some aftermarket body panels, which I'll go over shortly here in a second when we go kind of in detail of all the little things. But yeah, the only thing really that's left stock on this car from the factory was the doors. Everything else is cut or modified in some way, shape, or form, or is a different variation of this BMW. So this is actually an LCI E46, so it has the newer headlights and hood and fenders and all that stuff. Basically the older ones, they are cut here, and there's a separate side marker and a separate headlight piece, and the headlight looks a little bit different. But yeah, this car actually has an M3 bumper, and it was Imola red, as you can see here where my tow hitch has rubbed off some of it. But this thing is kind of like a fun drift car, and I'm not too worried about it staying super clean. We got a big oil cooler here in the front, and a big aluminum intercooler there, and a Koyo radiator. And when we pop the hood, I'll show you that 1JZ under the hood. But yeah, it is a very purpose-built, specific, like, looks great and slides really well. So with the hood, as far as modifications are concerned, there's a big cutout here to let out some venting from underneath the hood, which actually helps quite significantly. The car never has any issues getting hot, and yeah, I just think it's a pretty well sorted setup, especially having a boosted engine in there. Oh, good morning! So we got Big Duck Club wide body on here. And these are stock fenders cut, radiused, and then this is bolted on the top here. We've got some Kansai Astros, which is literally just like the cheapest wheel that I could find that worked on the car. I went back from 5x114 to 5x120. The car had like big Wed Sport 3 pieces on it when I bought it, and now it's just got some cheap wheels on it because I wanted multiple sets and I didn't want to have wheels that were different colors and different styles. So I bought 6 rears, which I think are 18 by 10.5 plus 15, and I bought 4 fronts, which are 18 by 9.5 plus 15. So if the offsets might be slightly different as far as like what I just said, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, we've got stock rotor and caliper setup. We got MCS single way adjustable suspension, and we got WiseFab angle kit under here, which I'll show you right now. So WiseFab MCSs, and they are true coilover rear, and the fronts, I think spring rates are 900, and the rear I think is 300. So not too stiff, still kind of suspension-y, not just a solid mounted anything. We got a nice modified subframe for the 1J that's under the hood, which we'll get to in a minute. We got a a power steering cooler, and yeah, nothing too crazy going on under here. I'm running some Accelera 651s, and these are 235 40 18, and the rears are 265 35 18, and they're stretched on there a little bit. We got stock doors with glass windows that roll up and down. Nice little M3 style mirrors here that are extra hot boy and JDM, even though this car is not JDM, but it's got some JDM underneath the hood, so that kind of works out. We got OEM BMW roof racks here, which are crossbars, which are pretty cool. Little roof spoiler on the back. Again, like I said, Big Duck Club in the rear here. And this is obviously cut and radiused underneath, and then this is painted and stuck on here. Not the cleanest thing in the world, but it works, it gets the job done, and it looks a lot better than the stock radius, or the stock quarter panels at least. And as far as the rear brake setup, there is a dual caliper. These are stock calipers, and actually stock pads as well on a stock rotor in the rear. And this is again like 5x114 with studs, because I'm not a huge wheel bolt guy. And yeah, let's go ahead, and since we're down here, we'll look under the car, and I'll show you the fence post exhaust and the 488 rear end with the trailing arms there. We got some nice G-force axles, and again, like I said, the MCS true coilover rear, and these are single way adjustable, so really nice suspension setup. The car had Silver's suspension on it when I got it, and they were blown and just terrible. So yeah, these are a huge upgrade from that. Like I said, this spare tire well was cut out and there was a plate put in, and then this is a full 3-inch fence post from the turbo back, and then you can tell the welds on this thing are killing it. But hey, it gets the job done. It hasn't fallen off yet, and we are here. So we have this kind of stock bumper. I think this is off a convertible 325 Ci, and it has self-toleranced itself with the exhaust. As you can see, it's melted a little bit there. We got a CSL replica trunk here, which is fiberglass, and the fitment is not the best, but hey, like again, this is a drift missile. I'm not being too harsh on the fitment of everything. And other than that, exterior wise, there's not much more to be said about the car. Like I said, we got some 18 by, I want to say they're 10.5 or 12. I don't know. It's really wide wheel in the back. I cannot remember, but I know the fronts are 18 by 9.5, I think plus 15. And the rears do have a 20mm spacer because this wide body is crazy, and the fitment still isn't perfect. It could probably run another, actually that's a 10mm spacer. No, I think it's a 15. So anyways, I could probably run a 25 and it would be perfect, but hey, we're not trying to be perfect here. We're just getting the job done. Let's go ahead and walk around the front. I'll pop the hood for you and show you what's underneath there, and kind of talk you through some of the iterations of the changes. When I got the car, it had like this big body kit on it that I didn't like. I kind of like stock-ish body kits, but I don't really like the stock fenders. So having the M3 bumper and the M3 side skirts and that stock rear bumper and getting rid of the street sweeper style body kit was really nice for me, at least aesthetically. So we'll go ahead and pop the hood, talk to you about the engine, and everybody's getting up. There's a bunch of commotion and stirring going on over there. Everyone's looking at me like, what's happening, bro? Look at all this. So we got a 1JZ under the hood. This is a 2.5 liter straight six made by Yamaha and Toyota, and came out of like a JZX Chaser. And yeah, so stock turbo with an upgraded compressor wheel and, you know, a little pod filter here. Power steering, we got a Chase-based power steering kit. We got a fuel system from Radium, and this actually had stock fuel system on it and was making about 330 wheel on pump gas, and I decided that with the Link ECU it would be really easy to run a ethanol sensor rather. And then yeah, so Tyler at Euro Speedwagon hooked me up, and we were able to put some bigger injectors and a Radium fuel rail and bigger fuel lines and fuel pump in the car. And on E45 the car makes about 410 wheel horsepower now. And yeah, it's pretty sick. It's linked up to a ZF transmission. I don't know the kit, but yeah, we have a ZF 5-speed behind there. I actually went to a dog box for a while and changed the rear into a 410, but right now the gear ratio in the back is, I think, is a 383, or no, it's not. It's less than that. It's a 338. I think it's a pretty long rear end, and you got a 5-speed ZF in there, and it's basically a second gear car, and that's kind of what you want with a drift car. You don't want to be shifting too much unless you got like a crazy amount of power, but for me, just keeping it in one gear, second, maybe third occasionally, and it's like really useful. So we have WiseFab angle kit. You can see the strut, the top hats here, and the way that the shock mount comes through the actual top hat, which is, or not the top hat, but the strut tower. You have to like drill a hole for the strut to come through, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, you can see there was different angle kits on here before that kind of utilized different things, and there were holes drilled. But yeah, WiseFab on there now. And this is their like wide body one, so they make like narrow body ones, and this one happens to be, obviously, because I have an extra ridiculous amount of space. The car actually is 6.5 feet from wheel to wheel, so when I bought my trailer setup, which I might talk about here later in the video, I had to find a wide trailer to be able to fit and accommodate this particular car because the front end is so wide compared to the rest. Full 3-inch exhaust all the way back, literally nothing there, running E85, like I said, makes about 400 wheel, and sounds really good, as you'll see later in the video. And yeah, pretty cool little setup. The car didn't have a blow-off valve on it when I got it, so it was just compressor surging like crazy. But now we got this little Gretty guy on here, big like Spall fans back there on the Koyo radiator, and they just run all the time. They never turn off, so even when you turn the car on, the things are running, and it keeps the car super cool. I've never had this car overheat or even get close to overheat, except for the one time where a rat climbed in one of these holes on this box and chewed through one of the wires that basically controlled these. It chewed through the relay wire that controlled the fans, so the fans just like turned off randomly, and that was cool. But it didn't overheat in a sense that it was causing damage. So we also have these little like cop lights that I can turn on that have little flashers in here so I can be extra hot boy. And everyone always tells me, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this guy, Andy Sapp. He was like a huge drifter here in Atlanta, and everyone's like, this car looks like Andy Sapp's car, because he used to drive a black E46 back in the day, but it was basically straight piped and still the stock straight six. It wasn't a 1J, but yeah, this car is very Andy Sapp-esque. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the inside, because why not? We're going through the car step by step. We got that Drift Mansion banner up there. Again, thanks John and Taxi Garage for having me out. We got a full cage here, full interior for the most part, except for the rear interior. Still the glass windows and full door cards, except the lower half is cut to fit for the cage. We got some Cobra Halo seats here, which I pulled out of my red E46 M3, and we got a little tiny, like 310 millimeter Chinesium carbon fiber wheel here that actually kind of mitigates if you have a wider wheel, you're going to hit your elbows and stuff on the cage, so that kind of helps. But yeah, this is a nice sized wheel. It's not quick disconnect, so I did put these on a VAC sub plates, and then it is on a slider so that you can actually slide these seats forward and back to get in and out of the car. It also helps with these 4 points, so you can just like slide back, put the 4 points on, and then tighten them up, and then slide forward, and you're good to go. And you don't have to like mess with tightening them or anything. As far as interior goes, we got all the gauges to work on the dash except for the speedo and the mile per hour gauge. So yeah, fuel, tack, and your water temp there. We got an AEM air fuel ratio gauge here. We got a gear motive shifter, actually, because this car had a gear motive dog box in it at one point. Like I said, when I first got it, it didn't have it stock. I blew second gear up in the factory ZF, the one that was in the car originally, and then I had bought another ZF, and I decided that, hey, there was one on Marketplace that's like a fully ready to go dog box in a ZF case for super cheap. So I ended up buying that, putting it in the car, and having to change the rear end ratio. And long story short, it didn't work out. We're back to basically the exact same setup as when I got the car, because it was sorted and worked really well. We got a Chase Bays Hydro e-brake here. It's a little wonky, as you can see, but it does get the job done. The little reservoir is right there, kind of stock interior. And the cage is really nice because the fitment is good. You don't have to worry about like hitting your head on anything, and it does keep you protected. The welds are kind of all right, and it does the job. I'm not too worried about it, and it's sleek. You can't really tell it's caged unless you open the door, which is also a cool thing, because you can drive this car on the streets, and it is nice to be able to have a cage when you go to the track and want to do tandem with certain organizations, and they recommend or suggest that you need a cage to be able to do that. Now, as far as the interior of the rear, there's no strut bar that goes across the rear towers between the tops of the shocks, so that you can fit more wheels in here. So I can fit 4 wheels and tires in here. I put 2 in there, and then turn them up, and then put another one flat, and then another one back here, and I can fit 18 by 12s or whatever, however big these wheels are that I have. I can fit 4 of them in here, and I got a little fire extinguisher up there, and yeah, that's pretty much it. This thing is a dirty drift specific beast, and like I said, I showed you underneath, but we got the rear under pan deleted for that spare tire, so that I think that 488 could fit in there. But yeah, fiberglass little CSL trunk here, and that is the E46. And we've gone through a bunch of iterations of trying different things out with the gearbox and the diff and the rear end and the ratios, and we have settled on basically the exact same setup, like I said, that it had when I got the car, which is a standard ZF in the trans tunnel, and then it's got a 488 rear end that has, I think it's a 338 ratio diff, and then there's actually it's not a welded anymore, because for whatever reason the diff was welded and it was having issues with like vibrations at about 90 miles an hour, so now it has like a carbon clutch type style diff in it from Drift HQ. So that is the E46 drift car, and I would love to go drive it now here at the Drift Mansion and share with you the experience of what that is like. And now everyone is up, and they're all freaking out, riding bicycles and getting ready and doing dumb stuff. There's side-by-sides everywhere. They're wondering why the hell I'm in the middle of the track talking at my car. And I'll walk you around my tow rig real quick since I'm here and it's on the track. This is my 2014 Porsche Cayenne diesel. It's got 108,000 miles on it. I bought it for about $15,000 with 90,000 miles on it. And I've driven it for the last year and a half. I love this vehicle. We can go do more of a detailed review about that at some point if you guys are interested. But I bought this trailer this last weekend. This is an Aluma 18-foot trailer by 7 feet wide. It's a tilty boy, so this thing tilts up and down. And I towed this car up here, got about 22 miles to the gallon with that drift car on the back of this thing. And yeah, it's a pretty solid setup. So let's go ahead and get started with our day, and we're gonna drive that car. And I'm gonna say hey to this dog. Ace, Ace, hey. Oh, you're so pretty. So pretty. Where you been, huh? You been trying to bite me? Yesterday when I was jogging, you tried to take my leg out. Tried to take my leg. What are you doing? The internet loves Doges. The internet loves Doges. You know it. You know you look cool with your little blue eyes. You look cool as hell. All right, go fuck something up. We're now in the drift car. The temps are all good. I just haven't done anything with the tires yet. I figured I'd warm the tires up with you guys, and then we're gonna drive the car and kind of see what it's all about. Again, it does have WiseFab angle kit. It's got a like clutch type style rear diff. All the accoutrement, 8.8 rear end, 1JZ under the hood, and we're gonna play around and see what this thing's all about. So, ZF 5-speed box with this gear motive shifter here. We'll get the tires a little warm. So, second gear. The engine's a little lazy, if I'm honest. You kind of have to like really be aggressive with the throttle to keep it up and boost. But it's a really easy car to slide, as you see. I was just kind of warming the tires up. Went a little overboard with the tire warm up and kind of kept it going and slid around a little. But I'll give you a brief tour of the facility. So you have this kind of back arc that goes around the outside of the facility here, the mansion itself, which is within the inside here. I'll throw some drone videos up so you guys can get an overview of what's going on. And then you have all different variations of the track that you can manipulate through. Honestly, there are so many cool variations of this track that it's a little bumpy, but my suspension is doing a very good job of competing with all these bumps here. But yeah, I figured let's go ahead and just leave it in second, have a little bit of fun. We'll do the standard configuration that I've been doing with the boys the last couple days, and I'll talk you through what I'm doing. So we're in third, coming up top of the hill. This is kind of the start. You can run the top here, which I might do at some point in the video, or maybe later with some tandems, but come down this hill, handbrake entry, little bit of left foot brake, turn it down the hill, run it kind of wide, clutch kick, get it back going, throw it back out to the right, stay in the throttle, aiming for the inside here, squeeze of power, hold it deep, lift, throw it around the corner, clutch kick, keep it going, and then run it out through the top here. And that's all in second gear, so it's a pretty easy, like, the speed is very consistent as far as this track is concerned. You can run third gear if you got more power, but at 400 with 265s on the back, this seems to be kind of like the setup. And there's Mr. Micah Diaz over there, the actual professional drifter himself. But yeah, he's just watching me, making sure I don't suck. He's probably actually peer pressuring me into getting more angle, because I was like kind of floating around a little earlier, just playing with some lift-off oversteer. So this car with the not welded diff, with welded diffs, it wants to be a little more lift-off oversteery, but like here I can just turn in, lift, and the rear lets go. So I've got a little bit more pressure in the rear of these tires. I think there's like 40 PSI in the back. And again, they're 265, 35, 18s. And in the front, I'm running about 30 PSI on a 235, 35, 18. So now that the tires are actually hot, there's probably a little bit more pressure in there, but I kind of like the car to be a little looser in the rear, obviously. And these Accelera 651s, I think, they are, honestly, they last forever as long as you don't get them too hot. If you do a couple cool down laps, then they seem to last a long time. So we clutch kick in, get a little angle, make sure Micah's not bored out of his mind. And we're just kind of freestyle sliding around here. Again, this is just like a private racetrack that you can do anything you want as long as you you don't crash into the house, you're pretty much good. Let's run this bank. I probably needed to hit third there, but we'll cut this a little tight and run a different configuration. Little left foot brake there. Oh, going a little deep. Little deep. Touch the grass. Sorry, John. Left foot brake, slow it down so we can go up the hill. Hold it deep and then throw it wide. Left foot brake, slow it down a little, clutch kick, and run it up the hill. So it's pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. The fact that I've only been here one time and you just gotta figure it out. Getting to play on the sim honestly has been a huge distinguishing factor of the skill set that I've been able to accomplish, is being able to play on a sim and kind of just push cars past their limits without having a lot of repercussions, obviously, because you're only crashing in a sim, where in real life you have a lot more expense if you go into the wall or something. There is a lot to be transferred from a simulator to real world driving, especially drifting. Just be getting comfortable with the controls, understanding what gears to be in, when to use the handbrake, pushing in the clutch with the handbrake, letting the wheel float through your hands. Obviously in like rally and driving on circuit, you don't ever really want to let go of the wheel, so drifting is kind of like once you've learned the skill, you kind of adapt to work with bad habits. But overall, it's a really good translation on sim to be able to do this stuff in real life. And handbrake stuff, just honestly, it's like dry firing with a handgun or a rifle. You get comfortable with the tool, and then once you get to go do it in real life, you get way more experience in feeling it through the seat of your pants than you do on a sim. So even though you're like learning everything on the sim and kind of figuring it out, you only have the feedback through the steering wheel unless you have motion. But then when you get in the real car, it's like you have all this extra feedback. You have the noise, you have the feeling of the car, you have the yaw underneath your ass. It's a pretty cool situation. So I'll run another little lap here, and then we may do some tandem with some buddies later, because this was literally just me coming out, sharing the dynamics of the car with you, showing you what it can do, and honestly just having some fun. Again, the WiseFab is kind of like cheat mode, because you come in and you just like, oh, I want angle, and break in, and you just have all of the angle. Little clutch kick there, little clutch kick there, clutch in, get that snappy transition. Probably could shift into third, but we're just gonna keep in second, unwind that wheel. Run it in third, come up the hill. I probably could have kept it going, but... And also, vision is key. Look where you want to go. Casey, in the road. I'm just like dabbling with left foot brake to slow the car down here. I'll hold left foot, get a little bit more slower of a drift. Tires are getting pretty hot now, I can smell them. Oh my God. This car has been amazing. Although it's been down for an entire year because of that accident at AMP, it's just dialed. And I will say that Brian, the guy who originally built the car, he built a very, very reliable machine. As I say that, it's probably gonna break like right now, but it is cool that it's super reliable. I just get in it and rip. And now Casey's asking me for a shot. What you got?
I was like frantically trying to set the camera up to the correct
it's okay.
setting.
Where do you want me to be?
So maybe like come around here a couple times, like go around the house this way, go around the house that, like this one this way and that way, just so I can get
right in front of the house or here?
Yeah. Try to like really smoke it out, you know.
Hey, Casey! Should I be going that way so I can be out the window like doing dumb shit?
Yeah.
Okay. fucking smoked out.
That the one before the last one, the smoke, it was fucking.
God damn, son!
So I think, yeah, like with the match.
It's all cause this guy.
What did I do?
Put that skinny pedal down. You
Oh,
see?
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay. How was lunch?
Taco delicious.
Solid?
We'll talk about.
Not gonna worry about it later?
Huh?
Not gonna.
Nah, it
No.
was clean.
Should've.
Clean tacos.
It might actually be the only one to worry about.
That one?
Thinking about it, yeah.